Trinket.io login. Make sure you log in here using this link. Now, I already have an account. Let me sign out. So your Trinket.io login, you're going to click right here, sign in with Google. You're going to click sign in with Google. Once you sign in, you're going to use your school email. Sign in with Google using your school email. You're going to click New Trinket. Whenever you want to make a new trinket, you're going to click New Trinket. And you're going to do it in Python. Now, you'll notice in Trinket, there's also blocks, HTML, web version Python, and music. You're going to use Python right here. So you'll notice that it says Trinkets. It has a home button. It says My Trinkets, and it says Untitled. Whenever you start a code by yourself, you're always going to start it the way we always do it, which is going to be your last name, first initial, class period, and the lesson. So I want you to click Learn. It'll say leave this site. Click Leave. In Trinket, there are a lot of lessons that you can do by yourself. If you want to go over and do some of the code in Trinket, it's really good. The blocks are almost exactly the same as what we were doing in MIT App Inventor. You have free lessons in Python with Python turtles. And this is a Python turtle. He's a little turtle. And he walks you through all your discussions. You can also do it in, if you're learning Spanish, you can challenge yourself and try it in Spanish. I'm not missing nothing. Okay. All right. You have string challenges, turtle challenges, tutorials. Can I try this? Can I do this? This is your lesson that you're supposed to do. Yes. Okay. All right. So this is where, clicking learn is where you're going to get help in new lessons and learning new lessons. The help button right here. So under the help, you're going to get help and documentation. You can message them directly. Getting started, step 1, we're going to take a look at that in a minute. Frequently asked questions. What is Trinket? How can I get started with Trinket? How do I add an interactive Trinket to my website? For those of you that have websites or blogs. You have video tutorials, the documentation courses, and teaching with Trinket. This is something that I would take a look at. So let's take a look at make our first Trinket. You can follow along with this lesson, and you can make your first Trinket. The instructions again, the directions again on how to get to Trinket is right here in your Google Classroom on the assignment that was due on March 10th. You always title your work with your last name and the lesson. Last name, first initial if there's more than one of you with the same name. I'm in St. Charles. How about you? Where are you at, Karen? What you say? I'm in Alabama. I was there yesterday, but they didn't have. Okay. For those of you that missed the lesson on the 10th before we went to spring break, you're going to have to complete that on your own. You'll have the documentation in your Google Classroom. For everybody else, I want you to go over and practice. You're going to go to help. You're going to go to help, and you're going to go to get started, and you're going to click this right here, make your first trinket. So for everybody that was absent, the first thing you have to do is come over here to your trinket intro. This document right here, 211, transitioning to text. And you're going to read this. You're going to scroll down. We're talking about loops. This, if you go into PLTW, you can find this and use a trinket to look at the blocks and create the blocks in trinket. But this is what I want you to do. And the reason this looks kind of goofy is because my page is enlarged. So let me.
So is this something like MIT App Inventor?
It's like MIT App Inventor, but it's where we're gonna type our codes for Trinket. And why that did not come through correctly. So this is where we're gonna start learning Python. And I don't know why Google Classroom is not cooperating. So I'm going to give you this right here. And I'm going to put this in Google Classroom. This is what you're going to be typing in your Trinket. All right, where'd you go? Oh. It's not in there. I just saved it. All right. I'm going to have to do this another way.
Excuse me, Takira.
Huh?
You got a Nintendo Switch?
No, I used to.
You got an Xbox?
No.
Okay, so this is what you're typing in. We're going to type in, this is what you're going to typing in, and you're going to observe what's happening. If you notice, all right, if you'll notice, there's some specific information that has to be typed in a specific way. You're going to do the same thing that everybody else did, and you're going to add this. You're going to type this into your Trinket. Stop. Don't. So you're going to type this into your Trinket. So make sure that you title it with your last name, You're not Williams. Your first initial. Okay. You are Williams. Okay. Title it Intro Lesson. Click Save immediately.
How I get to that?
You go to Trinket. Okay, you go to Trinket, and there is an option that says start a new Trinket. Did you log in and create an account and everything? Okay. So on the top right, you should have a blue button that says start a new Trinket. If it's not there, refresh your screen.
You want me to go Python?
Yes. The very first one, Python. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So the very first thing we have to do is we have to set our function count. Count space equals space 1. Line 1 of our code. And then you're going to hit enter. And then remember your loops, if then else. While falls in that category because you're setting a specific for this loop. While our count is less than or equal, and in this case it's going to be 5. What?
It's on a computer.
It's on the computer, honey. This picture, it's in your Google Classroom.
Here, you gotta open the computer.
Yeah, it's in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's right there.
Added it?
Huh?
You just added it?
Yeah, along with the document. Yeah. Okay. So while our count, because we want it to print something, and we're counting that print function. We're counting that response. So our count is going to equal 1. And while our count is less than or equal to any number, in this case it happens to be 5, you're at the end of line 2, hit enter. It automatically indents. Do not change that indent because now we're in our loop. Loops are always indented. Loops are always a sub-factor of whatever the header is. And we want it to do a print function.
You want us to copy all of this, right?
No, I just have it.
Shut up!
Why you asking me dumb questions? That's why I said I just have I read this like you got this.
Fuck up.
You okay? Okay, not okay.
And you notice, well, you probably didn't notice, but I made some mistakes in there. And I just fixed them. And then we want to tell it how many times we want it to count or print what we're telling it we want it to do. Once you have all your code written in, go ahead and hit save. And then you're going to click run. It's as big as it's going to get. It's right here next to Trinket. So how many times did it print Hello World?
It printed 5 times.
Why did it print 5 times?
You put 5 times.
Because I told it to print 5 times. Right here. What if I change this? What if I change this to 9? How many times did it print?
It's gonna say hello world 9 times.
9 times. Because we set our count that only once. What if we say only once? How many times is it going to print? Once. Okay, so here's our command. Here's what we're setting our function that's going to happen. Here's our command of what's going to happen. Here is our loop of what we want it to say and how many times we want it to do. We want it to follow the count of 1. What do you think would happen if we took out this right here? Infinite. It's not going to stop because we didn't tell it how many times we wanted to do. So you hit stop. So it just prints it. It's going to run and run and run and run and run and run and run. It's going to print it forever. So what if we come up here and we just do 1? We're getting an error message. We're getting an error message. Our syntax bad input on line 4. It has to be what? +1. There you go. So it has to be +1. So let's see if we fixed it. Yep, we fixed it. So how would you add another message in here? You get a move? No, along with hello world. So hello world. And then what if you want to add another message? You could give it a try. Do this first. Okay. And when always hit save, then come up to share. You can share a link or you can download it. If you just share a link, it's going to take me just to your item and I'm not going to have to download anything else. Okay. So sharing a link is preferred. And I am going to show a student that they shared a link with me. Oop, I need to open this. So they shared a link with me, and this is how it's going to look when they do. Come on, I got to get this out of the way. Now I can get down here.
Okay, I did it, Miss Williams. You listening?
Okay, so when you share a link, you're just going to add the link to your assignment, and it's going to look like this. And then all I have to do is click it, open it. As long as your name is where it's supposed to be, I'm going to see whose work it is. Okay? I will see whose work it is. So sharing a link is the preferred way.
I'll put another thing. Shut up.
Okay. After you play around with it for a little bit and you get your information, you get everything where it needs to be, then I need you to submit your work. Your part 2 of this is going into Trinket and starting right here with getting started. Make your first Trinket.
You don't want to know how I did it?
I did scare.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay, let me tell you. I put it in parentheses